Hello everyone, I am Dr. Ratisi Rai, Assistant Professor of Physics, MLR Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. Today I am going to continue my lecture series on crystallography, on which I am going to explain about concept of nanomaterials. So I will go through this understanding the nanoscale, then few properties of nanomaterials, then synthesis and fabrication of nanomaterials and their applications. So consider we are holding thousands of particles which are fitted to the width of your hair. Means we can consider what is the size of that particle. That size of the particle is that much small that it will fit into the width of human hair. Such particles are known as nanoparticles. But what happens when we are considering such tiny particles? It is highly affecting the physical properties of matter, such as the optical properties, few chemical properties, and let us consider its mechanical property also. And it is revolutionizing the field of medical also. So, welcome to the fascinating world of nanomaterials. So these nanomaterials are mostly the materials whose dimension is in the range of 1 to 100 nanometer, and it can be classified as nanoparticles, nanorods, nanotubes and thin films considering the dimension of that particle. And as I have discussed before, so it will exhibit size dependent properties. That means at nanoscale the material shows spatial properties which is related to the optical properties, electrical properties, mechanical properties or magnetic properties of that material. So here I have shown few nanomaterials which are fullerene, which is a zero-dimensional particle or nanoparticle, then carbon nanotube, graphene and graphite. These are few examples of nanomaterials. So let's classify these nanomaterials depending on the dimension. So when we are considering zero dimension, so here what happens, all the dimensions are in the nanoscale. So few examples are quantum dots, nanoparticles or fullerene. And when we are considering one dimensional, what is the meaning of one dimensional nanoparticle? Here what happens, one of the dimension is outside the nanoscale. That means one of the dimension of that particle is in larger dimension that is not constrained within nanoscale. That is known as one-dimensional nanoparticle. So this is so few examples are nanowires, nanotubes and nanoribbons. So whenever we are considering two-dimensional, so here two dimensions are outside the nanoscale. That means two of the dimensions are in larger scale. So examples are graphene and nanocoatings. So these are few kind of nanoparticles or nanomaterials, and these are how we can classify dimension wise. So whenever we are considering like 3-dimension, that time all the three dimensions are out of the nanoscale. Okay. So then let's see why these nanomaterials are different. I told that it is showing some properties which is related to the size of that particle. Why the properties are varying due to the size? There are mainly two reasons why the properties of nanomaterials are special due to their tiny size. So first property is surface to volume ratio. What is the surface to volume ratio? Let's say I am considering a cube. So a cube of side A. That time the volume of the cube I can write as A cube, and surface area of the cube can be represented as 6 square. What will be the surface to volume ratio? So surface area to the volume. So if we will solve this, we will find 6 by A. We can see this surface to volume ratio is inversely proportional to the width of that cube. Similarly, let me consider a sphere. I am considering a sphere of radius r. So here also, if I am finding the surface to volume ratio, what is the surface area? 4 pi r square. Surface area is 4 pi r square divided by what is the volume? 4 by 3 pi r cube. So if I will find this also, we'll get the surface to volume ratio for a sphere. It will be inversely proportional to r. That means inversely proportional to the radius of the sphere. From these two examples, we can see that whenever the dimension is less, that time the surface to volume ratio will be large. That means the surface to volume ratio is inversely proportional to the particle size. And already we have discussed that these nanomaterials are very tiny in size. And the dimension is in the scale of nanoscale. Nano means 10 to the power minus 9. 1 nanometer is 10 to the power minus 9 meter. So here the dimension is of the order of 10 to the power minus 9 meter. That's why due to the very tiny size of these nanoparticles, we are getting a high ratio of surface to volume ratio. And what happens when the surface to volume ratio is high? So let's compare first between the bulk material, that means the materials which have size larger, and micro materials which have dimension of 10 to the power minus 6 meter, and nanomaterials which have dimension of 10 to the power minus 9 meter. So you can see if I am comparing this surface to volume ratio of this three different kind of material, this bulk material have the lowest surface to volume ratio, and then comes micro particles, then come nanoparticles. So as I have told, with this dimension, when we are decreasing the dimension or decreasing the particle size, that time this surface to volume ratio will increase. So what happens when this surface to volume ratio will increase? When this particle size decreases, as told that the surface to volume ratio will increase. That means what happens? The surface area will increase. That means the particles which are accumulating at the surface area, it will increase. That means there will be more number of particles on the surface area of such kind of material. So that leads to high chemical reactivity, making nanomaterials ideal for high efficient catalysis and sensor technology. What happens in this case, as I have mentioned, on the surface area, so when I have, this is in a spherical shape, whatever material I am taking, and due to the high surface to volume ratio on the surface area, large number of atoms will be accumulated. Okay, so when this number of atoms on the surface area are more, then what happens? There will be more number of atoms will be available for this chemical reactions. That's why it will increase the chemical reactivity of a particular material. Next, we'll see some other aspects of this effect of high surface to volume ratio. So first thing is the increased reactivity. Already I have discussed this point. Then it will enhance the catalytic activity. It will enhance the catalytic activity. As I have told that due to large number of atoms in the surface area, so whichever atoms are on the surface area, those are less stable and those are more reactive. As those are less stable and more reactive, that's why what happens, it will enhance the catalytic activity. And the third point is, it will alter the thermal and mechanical property. So how it will alter the thermal and mechanical property? Whenever we are going to nanoscale, the materials are very strong. So next slide I will discuss how those materials are strong or that mechanical property enhanced due to the smaller size. Then it will have more interaction sites for sensing applications. So as on the surface there are large number of atoms, whenever we are using it as a sensor, so we are using any nanomaterials as sensor, that time it will provide more interaction site for this sensing application. And also it improve energy storage, like batteries or capacitor whenever we are taking. So here the electrodes, if we are making as nanomaterials, that time what happens, due to the high surface to volume ratio what happens? Large number of charge carriers will be accumulated, or large number of charges will be accumulated at the electrode. That's why large amount of charge can be stored in such case. That's why it will improve the energy storage in case of batteries and capacitor. So few examples are nanocatalysts in fuel cell. So it will be increase the fuel also. Then the next property is quantum confinement in nanomaterial. What is this quantum confinement? So whenever we are going to quantum scale, that time what happens, whenever we are considering a bulk material due to its higher size, what happens? The energy levels, whatever we are having a bulk material, that time in bulk material what happens? The atoms are close to each other, so the outermost electrons will overlap and the outermost electrons wave function will also overlap with each other. That's why what happens, it will form energy levels which are close to each other. That's why what happens in bulk material, in case of bulk material, so these energy bands will be formed. So whichever energies whose energy are close to each other, those will form like energy band. So it will be, we will get continuous values of energy. So these continuous values of energy will form like energy band. So next we will have some gap between them, then again we will get continuous values of energy. And whichever values of energy are very much close to each other, those looks like energy band. So here energies are in form of energy bands. But what happened when we are considering nanomaterials? So in nanomaterials, what happens? The particle is confined to move in smaller dimension. So whenever it is confined to move within smaller dimension, that time the energy will be restricted. That time the energy value will be restricted, and that's why it can get certain amount of value, and the energy value will be known as discrete energy value. So we can consider a guitar string. So whenever we are considering like someone is playing a guitar and the string length is large, that time we can produce a wide range of notes can be produced. But when we are reducing the string size to less, that time what happens? The number of notes which can be produced, it will be restricted. That similar case we can take in this side. So what happens when, let's consider an electron which is moving in some less dimension, or we can consider like a nanoscale if we are taking, that time we can consider a particle moving in one-dimensional box. So whenever we are considering a one-dimensional box or one-dimensional potential well, so that time the potential will be infinite on the wall, and also outside the wall the potential is infinite, and inside the box potential is 0, and let's the electron is moving inside it, and let it is moving within a length L. So that time what happens? It is restricted to move within this length L. That time what is the energy of the particle? The energy of the particle can be represented as En is equal to n square h square by 8mL square, where n is the n is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the either ground state or first excited state or second excited state, and h is known as the Planck's constant, and m is the mass of the electron, and L is the length of the box. If we are decreasing the length, what will happen to the energy? We can see this energy En is inversely proportional to the square of the length of the box. So if the length will decrease, that time the energy will increase. So as we are restricting the particle to move within smaller dimension, that time it will get higher value of energy, and due to this higher value of energy we will get this discrete energy. So this was in case of bulk material, but whenever we are considering our nanomaterials, that times due to this discrete energy and this energy difference delta E, that will also increase. So let us consider here the energy difference between two states. So if I am considering n is equal to 1, so in case of n is equal to 1, this E1 will be equal to h square by 8 ml square. And if I am taking n is equal to 2, E2 I will get 4h square by 8 ml square, and the difference will be delta E is equal to E2 minus E1, that I can take as 3h square by 8 ml square. So it will be 4h square by 8 ml square minus h square by 8 ml square. It will be 3h square by 8 ml square. Here this delta E, this also increases as we decrease this value of L, as this delta E also inversely proportional to this L square. As we are decreasing L value, the separation between two energy levels are increasing. That's why in case of these nanomaterials, as we are considering it in a smaller scale, that time what happens, we are concising the dimension where the particle can move. That's why the separation between two energy levels increases. That's why we won't get band-like structure. As the difference of this energy increases, that's why instead of getting these energy bands, we will get discrete energy levels. It will have specific energy value. This E1, E2 or E3, whatever are the energy values, it will have a specific values of energy, and the gap between these energy levels will increase. Hence, what happens? The energy gap, which is the distance between the valence band and conduction band, that also increases in case of nanomaterials. So as I have mentioned before, that it will affect the electronic properties of the material also. Because of this reason, as it is affecting the band gap, that's why the electrical properties of a material will also change in a vast way whenever we are going to nanoscale. So yes, this nanomaterial, or whenever we are confining the particle into nanoscale, this will quantize the energy level of electron and holes, which are the charge carriers, which will transform the continuous energy band of bulk material into discrete atomic-like labels, as I have shown here. Then, what is the effect of this quantum confinement? So, one of the effect is it will affect the optical property. So, how it will affect the optical property? So, as I have mentioned, it will alter the band gap of that particular material. As it is changing the band gap or increasing the band gap, that's why we can get some tunable emission. That means we can, whenever we are producing any LED or something, that time we can get specific color of that. Then it will show some surface plasmon resonance, which will cause shifts in light absorption. So one of the example is gold nanoparticles appear red or purple depending on the size of it. So gold generally it looks as a yellow color, but whenever we are changing this particle size, that time that particle will come as, it will appear as purple or red in size also. How this happens, how this change in size happens, what is the surface plasmon resonance? So whenever this light is falling on any surface, that time that surface atoms, I told that in nanomaterials we have large surface to volume ratio. That's why more number of atoms are on the surface. Whenever light is falling on that surface, it will interact with the surface atom and it will start vibrating. And due to that, what happens? This color will change. This is known as surface plasmon resonance. Then it will also affect the electrical properties due to alternation of this band gap. Then what are it will have a effect on other property, like it will give tunable emission. So by varying the size of the nanoparticle, we can get different color of emission. So we can see here, as we are decreasing the size from 8 nanometer to 6 nanometer to 4 nanometer to 2 nanometer, this energy band is increasing. Whenever we are going to lower scale, that time the energy gap is increasing. So by applying this property, we are using nanomaterials to form in quantum LEDs. So in quantum LEDs, we are getting different color of lights by using such property of this nanomaterials. Then it is giving monochromatic emission. So quantum confinement can cause nanostructures semiconductors to emit a narrow band of light at a specific wavelength. So as we can, if we can regulate the size of that particle, we can regulate the color, whatever specific color we want. By changing the size of that nanoparticle, we can change the color and we can get specific monochromatic emission. Then the effect on the mechanical properties. So, these are extremely strength. Whenever we are considering nanoparticles, those are extremely strong particles. So if we are considering carbon nanotubes, those are 100 times stronger than steel at 1/6 the weight. So if I am considering some particular weight of nanoparticle, which is a carbon nanotube, it is 100 times more strong than some steel, which is 1/6 of the weight of that particular carbon nanotube. Why this thing happen? So here what happens, I told this is due to the large surface to volume ratio. So here large number of particles are on the surface. So here we can see when there are large number of particles on the surface, we can see the circumference of this or the membrane which is around that particular particle. So it will have a continuous structure like this. So this will increase, the number of this circumference will increase. So this will work as membrane and it will make that nanomaterial stronger. So whenever we are trying to break that particle, this will attract, and that time what happens, it will very difficult to break that particle. That's why this nanoparticles are very much stronger than any bulk materials. And another property is it will enhance the hardness. So this nanocrystalline materials show increased resistance to deformation. This is which is known as Hall Page effect. So as I have discussed, due to this high surface to volume ratio, again it is very much hard also, and it will improve the ductility. That means whenever we are producing any wares from the nanomaterial and we are stretching it to larger dimension also, whenever we are stretching also, it's not breaking or there won't be any cracks on the nanomaterial. So it is extremely stretchable. So it can be it's showing this properties like super plasticity, and it will allow for complete shaping process. So we can change it to any different shapes. That's why whenever we are using any foldable LEDs or like any now also nowadays we are using some phones which are also, which screen is also foldable. So that time we are using these nanoparticles on that display. So as it is due to its super plasticity and due to its stretch, so as it is more stretchable, that's why it is very much efficient for to use in such applications. Then few synthesis and fabrications process of this nanomaterial are mostly in two process we fabricate this nanomaterial. One is top down method and another is bottom to up method. In top down method, what we do, we reduce bulk material into nanostructures through physical force. And some common techniques are lithography, ball milling and laser ablation. And another method is bottom to bottom up method, where what we do, we assemble atoms or molecule into nanostructures. So few common example of this method is CVD, Sol-Gel, molecular self-assembly. So among all this, I will discuss this Sol-Gel method in my next lecture. Then let's consider some real world application of this nanomaterial. So we have discussed such a fascinating world of nanomaterial, where we have discussed the properties, unique properties of this nanomaterial, which is this large surface to volume ratio and quantum confinement in nanomaterial, due to which it is showing very strong mechanical properties, and it is alternating the optical properties of a material. It is changing the chemical reactivity of the material. So where we can use this in real world impact. So first we can use in medical sector. So in medical sector, where we use this nanomaterial, first thing we are using it for targeted drug delivery. So in this case, what happens? So whenever I'm giving one example. So whenever in cancer chemotherapy is given, that time it is curing the cancer cell. In addition to that, sometimes it is affecting the healthy cells also. So there will be side effects due to some medicines. So this is one of the example. So in other examples also, whenever we are consuming any medicine for particular treatment, that time it is having some side effect on some other healthy tissues also. But whenever we are using this nanomaterial, what happens here? We are sending the nanomaterial directly to that affected area, and it will cure that particular tissue only which is affected by the disease. So what will happen? So the side effect will be less in this process. Mostly we won't get any side effect. So what we are doing here, we are making like we are showing whatever is the targeted area. Before sending that nanomaterial to that particular area, there will be, it can tag that particular nanomaterial, and that time it will just react on that particular disease cell, instead of it is affecting the other healthy tissues also. Then another thing is MRI. It is developed in MRI also. What is happening in this MRI? So wherever like we are doing MRI in a particular portion of our body, that time what happens? We are sending some nanomaterials, which is like iron related nanomaterial. That time what will happen? It will increase that magnetic property of that particular area, or it will change that magnetic behavior on that particular area of our body. So that time it will help also in MRI. Then next thing is in electronics also, it is helping us. So faster transmitters and flexible display technology. So in these things, so this flexible display technology already I have discussed, and again, due to the smaller size of these nanoparticles, we can use it in this faster transmitters. Then in energy. So in energy, due to the smaller size of this nanoparticle and the higher surface to volume ratio, we can use it in high capacity batteries. So it will increase the storage of the battery, and we are using for this lightweight solar panels. Also, we are using these nanoparticles in aircrafts also, due to the smaller size and lighter weight in aircrafts or space stations also, to using the components or to building the components, we are using this nanomaterials there. And in case of solar panels also, so whenever you are fabricating any solar panel, if we are using this nanomaterials to fabricate a solar panel, that time it will be of less weight, or it will be, again, it is as it is storing more energy, that time that solar panel will be also more efficient. And in environmental case also, we are using it advanced water filtration and air purification. In water purification, what happens? So this is a diagram for that water purification. We can see this titanium oxide nanoparticles that can be used for this water purification. So what it do? So it will absorb the metals. So any metals are there in that water. So those metals, heavy metals, will be absorbed by the titanium nanoparticles. Then it will also absorb the organic contaminators. So if any organic contaminators are there, like benzene or phenols, those are also be absorbed by the nanoparticles. So those nanoparticles are mostly used as filters here. So those are taking or absorbing whatever the impurities are there in water, and in advanced water purification we can use it. And also for this air purification sensors also, we are using these nanoparticles which are absorbing this any harmful materials or harmful particles are there in air. It is absorbing that, and for this air purification also we are using this nanoparticle. So this is all about the fascinating world of nanomaterials, where due to its specific characters like high surface to volume ratio and its quantum size, where you can use in vast field, and we can see we can change or revolutionize the whole field of medical, energy, environmental, and electronics, all this field. So this is all about this lecture. Thank you. So next class I will discuss about the fabrication of nanomaterial by Solger method. Thank you.